Thank you. I'm going to talk about crowdsourcing. This is what I've been doing the last years, and I want to share some learnings I had during this time. First, I want to give you some backgrounds on my person. This is not about awkward family pictures. This is me in the 70s, and you can see me there playing with my friends, and I always was known for wanting to explain my friends how cities work and to build together with them cities. So actually, that's what I've been doing since then ever. So I work in participation since 1998. This is a picture of an old tool we did when we started. It was called the drag and drop tool. You could create your own Hafen City, which is around the corner, via the internet. For the nerds among you, this was made in Shockwave, so you can imagine how slow and it was really not the time for these tools. In my whole work, I experienced two major disruptions that led me to what I'm doing today. The first one is what I call the participation dilemma. You heard I'm doing lots of participation processes, and I always figured out that either if you don't do participation, you will fail. That's obvious, I think. Everybody will understand that. But more and more, if you do participation, you fail either. Let me explain. The picture, the upper one, shows Stuttgart 21, which is widely known as a protest movement against the displacement of a railway station. Okay, there hasn't been any participation, you could say, so protest may be obvious. But the lower picture shows a, for me, perfect participation project, which has happened here in Hamburg, called the Future Plan of Altona. And people could there work on their own visions and ideas. And what we experienced there was that we had to protect, not we, the police had to protect the people working inside from people trying to rush in to disturb the protest because they thought it would be a false process, something which isn't honest. So you see, still, if you do participation well, you will have some heavy protests around you. Meanwhile, the second disruption, which is more like an inspiration, I would say, is the whole collaborative turn. We heard a lot of this about this today, the do-it-yourself city, things like this. I will only show you my favorite term in that is the open innovation idea. So this is a concept behind the 2.0 movement, which has been widely adapted into the corporate world. This is Tchibo, as many of you know, an old retail brand here in Germany. They have their shops, their products, and what you see here is Tchibo 2.0. Tchibo 2.0 is mainly about people that can bring in wishes, ideas for new products, and you have designers, like you maybe, that can meet the challenges and can try to design to help the people to find solutions for their needs. And what Tchibo promises is that the best ideas will make it to the shops. So this is what inspired me very much in my work, and it inspired not only me, it's a whole new movement, which you call open government. You have cities now trying to adapt this idea of open innovation into their processes, like New York, Bristol, other cities that are doing large open innovation processes now. And even what's exciting for me is the next step, which I would call the open development, so that you not only have the idea sourcing on many shoulders, but also the funding of projects. Here you can see the idea for a low-line park. You all maybe have heard of the High Line Park in New York, very famous. And there's now an idea to create a low-line park in an abandoned tunnel under the city. And they have funded over $100,000 for creating prototypes on this. So this shows the power of creating your own city together with a crowd. So for me, I more and more went over to wipe out the word participation, which is mainly about a central subject inviting you to a process and saying, I'm doing this, you can join in and you can participate. This is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about open innovation for the city. So based on this idea, I founded in 2009 TEDxHamburg. And our mission is to crowdsource a future agenda on one hand, together with as many people as possible, and to be a citizens project incubator, that projects will come out of this. We have a very simple crowdsourcing model. You can start, bring in your idea as a citizens. We have several filtering mechanisms. We do sessions and gatherings where people can work on ideas, and we collected this into a citizen's vision. And from out this citizen's vision, there were coming out projects now, and we are right now in the stage where we work on this project. We have several formats. It's very important at this point to say we are not only an online initiative. Crowdsourcing is always often attached to the online discourse, but we say the non-line world is at least as important as the online thing. We are 4 years into action now. We did several sessions. We did a big future camp here in the Hamburg city center. We published our vision, and I want to share now with you some learnings I have, because all of you who might be involved into open innovation processes maybe get out something of that. We have found some like 10 rules which are important for doing this open innovation thing in public issues. The first thing, and this often lacks into normal participation processes, is you have to define your promise very well and your limits. Often people are invited to participate into projects, and there's even a clear promise what will happen with their inputs, with their posts, with their ideas. So we made a very clear promise. Since we are not a government part, we are like an NGO, we say any idea will be discussed seriously. We don't kick out anything. We push the most requested idea toward realization, but we cannot promise that the things get real. This is very important to define the limits. The second rule is create a strong community. Crowdsourcing is about community work. And it's a kind of community organizing in a more modern form, maybe. We have very strong online community, but as well we have a strong offline community, people that get to our venues, to our places, to our sessions, that maybe are not used to use internet for their innovation things. The third rule is be collaborative. Crowdsourcing, open innovation in a public sphere is not about making your things alone. You have to look at the landscape of players, of actors in the city. These are our Hamburg partners. And the most important thing about being collaborative then is to stay independent, because some of those partners are government partners. And of course, if you work together with governments, you get restrictions. And it's a very hard job to keep your freedom and the openness of your process while collaborating with the governments. So this is a very, very crucial point. And the rule number 4 is never say no. You know, in participation, one of the first things that citizens experience when they join a participation process is, okay, nice idea, but we've thought of this 10 times before. We will not fund it. No, it's no way to doing it. It's technically impossible. And we say there is no. We have to look close at the ideas, maybe to find out what's the problem behind, maybe to take the idea as the starting point to get into a deeper discussion with a person. Like this old man that came to one of our sessions and said, okay, I want to have the Hamburg icon, the Hamburg logo, which is this kind of castle which has never existed as a real building. We want to have it constructed. And I said, okay, for an architect, this may be I'm an urban planner for luck, but for an architect, this may be a horrible idea to construct such a thing. But we did a visual of that, and we got into talk with him, and we got into the whole discussion of reconstructing cities. So the idea may be an entrance to a total world of idea and discussion. Online is not everything. I said this before. Crowdsourcing, crowdfunding, especially when you go into the city, into crowdfunding also of real projects, you have to create venues, you have to create workshops on site, you have to work on site. We will do a workshop next week here on the place in front of the doors. We did sessions. We have our own workspace, as you could see here around the corner. And this is very close attached to another crucial thing: go where people are. Participation often takes place in some school backside room Friday afternoon in the evening. So you see some 5 planners in front of five citizens. This is not participation as I think about it. So we have really to go into the city centers to create spaces where people can drop in, like we did in the Future Camp. You could come in for 10 minutes into a future shop, create your own city vision, and you could hang it on the wall, and people could comment and vote on it, so it could get part of the discussion process, but you didn't have to join in for several days or something like this. And we also go to shopping centers and things like this to meet the people where they are. The 7th rule is create a visible stage. There is something like what I call the ladder of reward. If someone joins a participation process or brings in an idea, he will not maybe want this idea to turn out reality, but he wants to have a stage where his idea can be visible, he wants his idea to be discussed seriously. So we put a lot of effort into creating a stage for the people who participated. We published a book, a vision book, with all the ideas of the people. We created some images where we put together all the roof ideas, like the green gardens on the golf courses and swimming and gardening things that you could put on the roofs. We have also some personalized visions. Here, a guy who wants to have a science park in his neighborhood, and he's really deep into the concept, and he has professionalized his idea very, very highly, and we created a stage and put him in contact with the Chamber of Commerce and things like this. Also, we're working with kids and give a stage for their idea, because if you talk about the future of cities, obviously you will talk about the kids' city. The 8th rule is change needs time. We are working on projects, as I say, and projects need time to grow. We often ask, how long will it take until you build the first building? I say, okay, wait some 5 years. We are into urban planning. This is not like creating a shoe or a new toaster, as Chibo does. And the rule number 9, we are often asked to adapt the model now to other cities. And it's not easy to adapt the thing, because every city is different. We are starting now to work in Belgrade. We have a small activity in Bangalore, even in other German cities, and you have to look very close to the planning system, to the planning culture of the cities, to the activist scene, to adapt your model. And for example, in Belgrade, we are not talking about online. We are talking to knock the doors and to get the old people in the neighborhood out of their flats and talk with us. This is a totally different approach. So you see, crowdsourcing is not always like crowdsourcing. Rule number 10. This is maybe the most important. I've been into many processes where I met planners that were kind of frustrated, bored. They have done lots of participation things and dealt with citizens that were at the end were still angry, as I told. And so you could really feel their anger, their frustration, and the citizens could feel that. And I think if you work on open innovation, in public issues, you really have to love to get in contact with the people. You have to love the stuff you gather. For us, it's like the raw material we work with. Those crazy ideas, as I shown up before, these are for us the starting point to think on the city of tomorrow. And for anybody who feels that he could love this kind of work too, I invite them to join. Thank you.